All right, let's talk about The Wolfen by Whitley Schreiber. This is his first novel, and it's about detectives George Wilson and Becky Neff as they investigate a double homicide of police officers who appear to have been mauled and eaten, and there are paw marks in the snow. Yes, it's a wolf attack, but the officer seemed healthy, and that doesn't make sense. There aren't wolves in New York, at least not in the city. Uh, what is it? Well, it's something different, and that's the big thing with The Wolfen and its subsequent movie adaptation, Wolfen. Very different film and novel. They're a different story as opposed to your typical werewolf story. Because unfortunately, especially the movie gets lumped in with The Howling and American Werewolf in London. They all came out the same year, and Wolfen really gets overlooked. And it's a shame because, in my opinion, it's probably the best of the three. It's a gritty, down-to-earth film. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about the novel. So, in this, Whitley Schreiber kind of reinvents what a werewolf is, and it's completely different than what we're used to. And I won't spoil that. It takes its time. That's the big thing with Wolfen, or The Wolfen. It is a short book, but it sets up everything perfectly. And it's a nice standalone novel. The detectives are interesting, and their dynamics kind of interesting too. And I just like it. It's one of those like books that you read and you're like, well, that's pretty damn good. That's pretty good. And it's also one of those ones I've hesitated to review for years because it's one of those where the less you say about it, the better. You should go into this with like an open mind and just expect the unexpected. It's a little predictable, but there are certain things in this that's like really well thought out and well worth your time to check out. The less I say about it, the better. Honestly, it gets a good 4.5 out of 5 from me. Now we gotta talk about Whitley Schreiber. Whitley Schreiber is an interesting character. His big thing these days was apparently in the 80s. He was visited by an unworldly being, is what he calls it. A visitor. Was it an alien? Was it some sort of deity? I don't know, and I don't think anyone else knows. Did it even happen? I don't know. But that's kind of what his career is now focused on, is him talking about the paranormal and that sort of deal. And he does write fiction still, but I see online this weird parallel between him and L. Ron Hubbard of Battlefield Earth and Scientology fame. I wouldn't compare the two, though. I don't know if Whitley Schreiber's full of it. I have not done enough research at this time to really like know one way or the other. And like I'm not going to I haven't heard any Whitley Schreiber stories. I know that people on my Clive Barker The Hellbound Heart review, they're like, "Oh, what do you know about Clive Barker?" And I mean, there's some of it out there. Like I did some research into that as opposed to this. Honestly, I wasn't even going to tackle this one this year, but things happened and I needed to review a book to fill a space, so I tackled The Wolfen. It was either that or The Hunger, and Wolfen's a faster read in my opinion. Whitley Schreiber's one of those authors though that doesn't like film adaptations of his work. I don't blame him. They typically change a lot of things. As much as I like Wolfen the film, It's very different from the the novel and has a weird terrorism subplot that doesn't really go anywhere. It's the one downside of that film. And of course, The Hunger was made into a film which I consider to be one of the best cinematography of 80s horror. It also stars David Bowie, and it is a interesting look into lesbianism in the 80s, which was pretty taboo at the time, which is interesting to say the least, but it doesn't follow that source material. I know that he wrote some screenplays and was not thrilled with what came of them. In fact, the last screenplay he wrote, they never made a film for it. So, anyway, have a nice day.